Hello and a very warm welcome to our first Pacecast of 2025. Thank you for joining us. Before we started recording today, I was trying to work out how long we've been doing the Pacecast, and unbelievably, it's our 5th year now. So we've had 4 years of very, very interesting guests, but we've never before had 2 guests on the sofa. So we're breaking with tradition today. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Martyn Pace. Yes, he does have the same surname as me because he's my nephew. So we'll come on to that a bit later. Martyn's the owner of Set the Pace. He's a personal fitness guru. And we're also joined by Alex Hansford. Alex is one half of Hansford and Crocker, who are sports injury specialists. So there's a bit of a theme going on as it's our January Pacecast, because we're going to be talking a lot about fitness. But we're going to learn a lot about Martyn and Alex's background and how they've got to where they are today. Hello guys, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
I'm looking forward to a very interesting chat with you both. So as always, we've asked our guests to bring in something that is meaningful to them, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about what you've brought in. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first, if that's all right.
Of course.
So a little bit kind of obscure to begin with, but a £10 note.
Thanks, Martyn.
So this basically represents to me a pivotal moment where I was applying to be a teacher. So when I came out of uni, I did sports development and coaching, wanted to be a PE teacher. So that was back in the day of some form of teacher training program I think it was called GTP, where you could apply, instead of doing 4th year at uni, you would do a 4th year working at school and you'd get paid from the school. Yeah. And I wanted to do it at my old school that I went to, which was Hornsey. Filled in the forms, got accepted. The teacher said, yeah, we want you on board. And it got to the point of them formally putting in the application because it was government funded. And I applied at December. February came around and they basically turned around and said, we can't afford you. We've got no room in the budget. You're going to have to reapply next year. And by that point, all the other schools in the area were full. So I had to wait another year. And it was in that year that I just got a temporary job working in a gym, got my gym qualification, thought I'll just do this for a year. And I fell in love with it. So if I hadn't have been rejected from the school, or the school couldn't afford me, I would have been a PE teacher. So
There's a real sliding doors moment, wasn't it?
Yeah. So my entire career would have been completely different. Yeah. And I'm thankful it did, because I would have hated being a teacher.
You might have gone into being a PE teacher.
Well, that's what I wanted to be,
right,
was a PE teacher. And I think I would have enjoyed the teaching part, but I've got a lot of friends who are teachers, and the bureaucracy and all the kind of boxes you got to tick and legislations, I couldn't have done it. No. I would have enjoyed the teaching part, but not the back.
The paperwork,
exactly, yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing that. Right, Alex, what have you brought in?
Right, so...
something a bit different.
I brought in a monkey. So this monkey, we're going back to now 2011 in Hansford and Crocker, and we had a patient from Australia come, and she was in a horizontal wheelchair, and she went around all of Australia trying to find someone who'd help her to get out of the wheelchair, because she had something called myasthenia gravis, and what it does is it attacks the healthy tissue, healthy muscle, and the nervous system. So she got glandular fever, went to hospital, then contracted myasthenia gravis, horizontal wheelchair. Everyone told her, you won't be able to walk again. So she came to the UK. Her dad was from Hull. And then it was someone who said, try Hansford and Crocker. So she came to us, and Will and I were scratching our heads. This is in 2011, so we were in our mid-20s. So we said, right, well, give us a couple of weeks and we'll see what we can do. Anyway, we worked 18 months with her, and we got her standing, walking, and then now she goes skiing, and she's living a very, very healthy life. So before she left, she gave us this, and as she was from Australia...
Oh, God, I've got goosebumps.
Australian. Love you, mate.
And that's what, obviously...
What did she say, sorry?
It says, oggy, 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 oi, oi, oi. So it's like, oggy, 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 oi, oi, oi. And then she says, you so wish you were Australian. And she goes, love you, mate. So she gave us this. Will's got one as well. And it's just a pivotal moment in our lives, really, to help someone who can walk and get them back to full fitness, where they thought that their life was over, really. So that's what the monkey is.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a very powerful story, so thanks for sharing that. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So let's go right back to the beginning now. I want to know what you were like as children and how you got you've indicated how you got into fitness, thanks, Martyn, but who wants to go first? Talk about their childhood and what influenced them?
Well, for me, sport was a big part of my life, as you can probably guess. Being in the fitness industry, I think I played every single sport growing up. rugby was always a big part of my life, cricket, and then golf. So I've got a brother who's a professional golfer, and growing up, the two of us pretty much lived at the golf club week in, week out. And that was where I would say for me personally that I kind of fell in love with being active. Like every kid's active, like you're playing your bikes, you're running around with the kids outside. But for me, I liked having something to apply myself to. So I liked seeing improvement. And it sounds geeky, if that's the right word, that as a kid, as a child, all my friends would be out playing football on a weekend, but I'd be there practicing golf or going on a golf competition somewhere that was actually kind of more structured rather than fun. And that wasn't, I mean, you see it with parents, being a father myself, where the parent pushes them. My parents were not the kind of pushy parents that did that. It was all my own choice. And I liked it. I liked having that kind of avenue to push myself through that. I've always done it. I think going back to, God, I must have been 5 or 6 when I used to play rugby. I used to love going to play rugby. And then it was cricket. And then it was, like I say, golf.
So which sport did you favour then? You were obviously very good at golf. Let's not underestimate how good you were. And obviously your brother's very, very good as well.
Yeah.
And rugby. So what was there a particular sport at that time that you were favouring or better at?
Enjoyment rugby. That's always been my favourite sport to play. I think
rugby league
rugby, rugby union is what I played socially properly as I was growing up. I played rugby league a little bit at school, primary school, but being from Hornsey, the clubs are all in Hull, so we never really played rugby league as a kid. But golf I was better at, and this is something that I always say to people that I think annoys my brother, is that in my opinion, I was a naturally better golfer than him. He might be the professional, but up until university, we both played golf at uni. I captained my uni team, he captained his uni team. I never have had a single lesson, as in a one-on-one lesson before. I was just one of these people that, fortunately for me, I could just turn up and I could just play. I was just naturally good at it.
You must have played each other over the years.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so who's...
He as a
Sorry,
junior,
Alex, we're getting into family competition now.
As a junior, because obviously the handicap system, it all evens itself out.
Yeah.
So we would typically win a couple of competitions each. As we got older, he won more because he got better as he got older. Because when I was 17, 18, he was at uni and he got coaching when he was at uni. Right. So he really turned a corner, and obviously that was what made him pursue a career in golf. Whereas for me, golf was at uni a very social thing. We used to turn up, play, go get drunk. But when we played as juniors, I was just naturally good. I saw it as an avenue to pursue, but I didn't take it that seriously. I never used to spend hours on end practicing. I was just one of these lucky people who could just hit a golf ball. But then when I came back from uni, all the kids that I'd played junior golf with, they'd all moved away, stopped playing, and I was playing with, sounds daft, but people my age now, like 30s, 40s, and I had nothing in common with them. And I didn't enjoy that idea of trying to make small talk with strangers or trying to make a conversation with people who let's be honest, I'm not going to be friends with. And I just kind of said, you know what, I'm done, I'll stop. And then I started playing rugby again. So once I'd kind of had that period of life where I was good at golf, won a lot of competitions as a junior, represented East Riding as a junior, captain the uni team. So part of me does regret that I didn't pursue it further, because I think I could have been a good golfer. But
okay, all right, we might come back to regrets later on, but let's move on to Alex then. So childhood, any influence that happened, do you can remember that's...
childhood. My childhood was very different to a lot of people's, because I lived abroad. When I was a child, I moved when I was about 6 years old to Egypt, lived there for a couple of years.
Why?
My dad's job. So my dad was in construction. So I moved there, went to school there, came back to the UK, and then went to Hong Kong and lived there for 5 years, and then came back to the UK. And I suppose in that time, meeting a lot of people, going to different cultures and trying to immerse myself in all the different cultures, I found out that I loved talking to people. I enjoyed helping people. And I think throughout all my childhood, with all my different experiences, that brought me to the point of actually, right, what job do I need to go into? What would I like to do? I like to help people. I love talking to people. Probably talk a bit too much sometimes, but I like to do that. So then I played a lot of rugby in my life, rugby union, played it all my life, and I got loads of injuries, saw quite a lot of physios, and then I wanted to go into the medical sector. But I'm very much, I like to do things and like to do loads of different things. And I thought the education side of it, of 16 years of becoming a surgeon, because I wanted to go down the medical route, I didn't think it was for me. So I thought, right, what is the medical route that I could go down, which you can help people, meet people, and still have that medical background? Then that's when sort of physiotherapy and sport injury came into it all. So did you study medicine at uni then? No, so I did sport rehabilitation at uni.
Right.
So then in 2004, I came to Hull, and that's when I did sport rehabilitation.
And what brought you to Hull?
University. So
right, okay,
I
got
looked
you.
at so many different places, looked at physiotherapy, but I wanted to go more down the private clinic sector. But when I was younger, I wanted to be a pilot, which is very random. But I love flying, love travelling. I was probably from travelling when I was younger. But then sat in a cockpit, I thought, well, it's not really for me, because...
And you don't get to talk to many people sat in a cockpit.
I'll just be on the tannoy, just like
annoying people. Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'm not going to go down that route. Looked at hotel manager, wanted to go down the hospitality route. But then again, I always swayed towards that medical side because I was very, very interested in it. My sister's an embryologist. So my mom was a nurse as well. So it's sort of the medical background is within the family. And then once I did my degree, I met Will, my business partner, and we said, should we set up a clinic? Because we thought, well, we worked well together because we did quite a lot of work experience together.
So I want to talk about that. And because obviously this is about business, this podcast is about business and people's experience of setting up or managing businesses. So it sounds like you made a decision pretty on in your career to go on your own. So am I right in thinking from what you just said, you came out of uni and then decided, right, I'm going to set my own clinic?
Yeah, it was...
Because that's quite a big step. Most people go into some sort of have a job first before they decide to go on their own.
Yeah, we had our last exam in May 2007, and then July we graduated, and then September we set up our first clinic at 21 years old in Cannons, which is now Nuffield. And yeah, Will and I...
And had you met Will at uni then?
Yes, I met Will at uni, so he was on my degree course. And we work with the GB Pioneers and work with Ireland Student Rugby League. So we created like little clinics because we went to Perpignan, we went to Latvia. But Will and I worked quite well together, and we created like this little clinic for the team. And we said, we work quite well together. I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, well, I've always wanted to set my own business. I said, I have. Should we do it? We said, yeah, and that was it, really. And then everyone always asks us, actually, why is it not Crocker and Hansford? Why is it Hansford and Crocker?
Yes, it's not alphabetical, is it?
But yeah, we said, well, actually, say Crocker and Hansford doesn't sound as good as Hansford and Crocker. It's the R at the end, so that's how that was born, really.
Yeah. Okay, Martyn, what about you? So you went, where did you go after uni?
I went, after uni, I had a year out where I just worked at the golf club, just kind of weekend work, if you like, part-time. And that was, like I say, when I applied to be a gym instructor, and I worked at Cottenham Parks Golf Club. So it was one of these random things that for my course I had to have work experience. So I'd apply to every single gym literally around, leisure centres, council work, council gyms. And
didn't apply to Cannons?
Didn't apply to Cannons, no. Too far to travel from Hornsey.
Oh, you were in Hornsey still,
yeah, I was
yes.
with my mum and dad still.
Yes.
And yeah, wrote off to Cottenham Parks, and with the golf link, because I was working at the golf club, I kind of knew a few people at Cottenham. So I said, look, can you put a good word in for me? And with that, I got an email back saying, yeah, do you want to come for a coffee? And I was pretty much given the job there and then. So I think I started on a part-time basis, just a basic gym instructor. And I had to finish up a qualification. Part of that was so many hours per week. And then from there, I just fell in love with it. And that was when I did the personal training qualification.
Right.
So,
and did you think at that point you'd be going out on your own? Were you planning to? No.
No,
okay.
there was no kind of dream to do it on my own. I just had this, I don't know, I was at that point in my life, I wasn't really thinking career. I was thinking more kind of job. What do I want to do to earn some money so I can do the things I want to do, rather than where do I want to be in 10, 15 years time. And then, like I said, I was there for 7 years, and again, even the next step when I went to Nuffield Health, or what was Cannons, I didn't still think at that point I want to be on my own. It was just a case of it's just a job. It's kind of just a natural progression of a small gym. I've outgrown it. I want to progress a little bit, but I don't really want that responsibility. I actually can't remember what the pivotal moment was where I said I want to go on my own. I'd kind of fallen out of love with the corporate side, if I'm going to be honest. Nuffield Health is, cause it's obviously
because it's different to Cottingham Parks, which was an independent. Yeah,
Cottingham Parks is privately run.
Yeah.
The owner of, it's all family run, so the owner of the business has a very day-to-day impact on the running of the gym and the club, whereas Nuffield is very kind of corporate, and every site across the country is run exactly the same roles, same routine. And at first it was great because it was a change of scenery, but then after a couple of years, I think I'd worked my way up to being manager of the gym in Hull, and there was so many kind of boxes of you must do it this way, you're not allowed to do this, this is the way we do it, and it's kind of like more frustration rather than wanting to do it their way.
So you think that's what
yeah, and like I said, there wasn't a pivotal I'm going to do it on my own. It was more kind of frustration of, well, I want to be able to do this. Well, the only way I can do that is either I move to another gym, but I could encounter the same problem there, or I set up on my own. So it actually started when a client of mine, he was a lawyer or a mortgage advisor? I can't remember which. There's two of them. And they said, we're moving premises. There's going to be a space above us. Do you want to sublet it off us? And we went down the route of getting planning permission, got all the plans set up and everything. And then that fell through at the last minute, literally the day before we were meant to sign and get the keys. And then it was kind of like, right, well, now I just need to do it on my own with no one else involved, and just
And how long ago was that then?
27. I left Nuffield 2017. I opened at 2018 January.
Right. Okay.
So 7 years.
7 years.
That's when the world became a better place. Martyn Pace, isn't it?
Yeah. 7 years. Don't feel like 7 years though.
What, longer?
It feels a hell of a lot longer. Yeah.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because you've gone into business on your own. So it was just you.
Yeah, all himself.
Whereas you had someone by your side from day one. So I've always wondered about that, because I set Pace up on my own, and people often say when you're setting up a business, it's easier to do it with somebody else. Whether or that's true, I don't know. So I'd be interested in each of your experiences and your views on that.
Yeah, well, I'd argue, obviously I've never done it. Our partnership coming up, which we'll talk about in a bit, but I've never worked with anyone else since I've gone on my own. I would argue, I agree with you that it's easier on your own, that because you've got no one else to kind of disagree with. And,
can be quite lonely to some degree, though, because you sometimes need to bounce ideas off of people, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, luckily maybe in my line of work it's a little bit different, because with clients do become friends. I see a lot of clients pretty much every other day, so you build up a relationship with them, so they become an important part of the business itself. So it isn't a kind of just a transactional business, it's very much a relationship business. And similar with you, I guess, with the physio, they become kind of regulars.
Yeah, I think going back to the point of what's easier, it all depends on who you're in business with and who you're in bed with in the business world, because so many times businesses fail because of the partnership that they have.
Yeah.
But I'm really lucky, and I hope that we'll say the same about me, but literally, we have disagreements, but we've been together 17 years now, and we must be doing something right. And one of our golden rules are, if we have a decision that we have to make and one of us disagrees, we pause. Whereas a lot of times with someone who's really strong in it, and I'm a very strong-minded person, Will is, you just go for it and say, no, we're going to do that. But Will and I have always been, right, if one of us disagrees, that's the pause button, and then we wait, see if we can resolve it, do a bit of mediation, and then move forward if we need to.
And do you think you've got complementary skills, or are you both very similar from both a personality point of view and your actual experience, what you bring to the business?
Well, I always say that if there's two of me, we'd be bankrupt, and if there was two of Will, we wouldn't probably be as far as we are. So we complement each other very, very well.
I can agree to that as well.
And the thing is, I'm very much, Will's sociable as well, but
you're more outgoing.
I'm more outgoing, and Will will say that, but Will's more sort of the reserve. But that helps because Will does sort of a lot of the background work,
the detail,
and then I just go and sort of talk and sort of the forefront of it all.
Give me an idea of what a typical day looks like for each of you then in your business. So Martyn, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so for me, early riser, I'm at work at 6 o'clock. And for me personally, it's about trying to see as many clients in a short amount of time as possible.
And is this at your own? This is at your studio?
This is
now?
my own studio, yeah. So just one-on-one basis. It's literally one client in, one client out. And the reason why I try to get as many clients in as short time as possible, it sounds impersonal, but it's purely from a importance perspective for me, for family. Like, I like to start early and then finish early so I can be at home for the kids when we finish school. And my day is literally one client comes in, couple in a row, stop for a break, and I repeat that through to 4 o'clock, and then I'm done for the day.
Yeah, cool.
And that is nice and easy.
Yeah. Alex?
Yeah, so for us, over the years, we've got now 3 clinics. So wake up at 7.
And they're all in this area?
All in this area, yeah. So Willoughby, Kingswood and Hessel. So wake up about 6:45, 7. Got kids now, so get them ready. Then I'm in work and obviously got the admin. And then we've got the 3 clinics. Will starts at Dave Lloyd because he lives near there. I start in Hessel. And then we rotate and go to different places.
Just to be clear, it's just the 2 of you.
We've got part-time employees as well.
Right.
But previously, with various contracts that come and go, we've employed 2 or 3 people. But we'll be going back to what we're doing together, and we'll be obviously employing more and more people. But yeah, day in the life is work at 9 o'clock and then finish at about 6:30 and do that 5 days a week. But then I'm very much with Martyn. It's so important to have that work-life balance, because you can drill yourself and work from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night. But for me and obviously Martyn as well, now we have a family, so important to be present. And I think you can have a business and you can run a business, but it's very important to have that presence with your children as well, because you're not going to get that life back with your children. You know, it's very important at this stage, this early stage, to spend as much time as you can as possible.
And what do you like most about what you do day to day? I mean, I guess you're going to talk about the people and the relationships, but yeah,
it's I think it's getting it from someone coming in and they can hardly move, or creating probably a problem with their mental health because they've been injured for a while. So we have historical issues or we have acute issues, but getting them back and seeing the progress and actually having them saying, fantastic, I feel great, thank you so much, and they're actually going back to their life, and you can see an upbeat person back again. So I think for me it's sort of, again, going down that helping route and helping people and doing things. The more complex the patient, the better, because I love complex stuff, because it gives me probably greater satisfaction. But then I like saying, well, yeah, other people haven't been able to do it,
yeah,
I'll try it.
Okay.
I can never say I will do it, but you can say, look, I'll give it my best shot and I will try my hardest to it, because genuinely I care for that patient, so I'd want them to get better.
Rather than answer that question, what's the worst thing about your day-to-day job?
Worst thing?
Sorry, you've probably got the harder one.
Yeah. Probably trying to go against the grain of what people hear and see in social media. Because obviously health and fitness, there's opinions left, right and centre about
I was going to ask you about that, because there always seems to be a craze or a fad.
That's my biggest frustration, yeah. And social media has given people the platform. Fantastic. Social media is great for fitness because it does allow people to learn more about it. And that's what people need to know, is other people know to lose weight, you eat less, move more. That's fairly standard. But the intricacies of it, people are now becoming a little bit more kind of understanding of, because through social media, coaches like myself can explain that. But the problem is there's so much BS out there that people are getting misinformation. Like there's a big craze at the moment. You've probably heard of him, Eddie Abu, where he's going into supermarkets and literally criticising every single food on the label, saying you shouldn't eat this, shouldn't eat that. And it's like leaving people like not knowing what to do. I've clients...
Because training, sorry to interrupt you, but when I used to train, it was all about the exercise and very little about nutrition. Whereas now it's 50-50, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot more scope on nutrition. Yeah. And I think that's, in my opinion, I think it's because of the marketing world that people are making money from spreading information or misinformation. It's easier for a coach. Easy for a coach to say, well, if you stop eating that but eat this, and I've got a product that helps you do that, you can
or
buy
have
my
a supplement instead.
It's a lot more of a money making scheme. Whereas exercise, I can't sell you an exercise, but nutrition you can. And I think that's one of the problems. But yeah, frustration. People come in and say, I've read about this diet, should I try it? It's like, no. Just listen to what my advice is. Just. I was going to ask you this later, and so we'll do it now because it's as we're chatting about it. But what of and it applies to both of you. Are there any particular, let's call them crazes, that have over recent years or current that you think are actually more effective or that have worked? Because there's this thing now. Is it High Rocks? This thing. Yeah.
I'm like, I've only just caught up with High Rocks, and what's this new thing? It's like, but. Are they just a craze, or is there some merit in them? And
see, for me, I have this conversation with my friends all the time, and High Rocks, CrossFit, both very similar, and I have nothing against them, like as a as a concept, if you like. But at the bottom line is they are circuit training. Circuit training has been around.
Circuit training,
exactly,
isn't it? But it's got this new fancy name and these competitions.
Exactly. Circuit training's been around for generations.
Yeah.
Okay, the idea of you just do constant exercise for a set time, non-stop, right? That's not going to change. In 20 years, it's going to be the same, but it'll have a new name. The problem I've got is that the CrossFit and High Rocks is that it is it's all competitive, and it's encouraging people who are new to exercise to go as fast as you can to try and beat someone else. Now, you're going to just ask for injuries, and it does your business fantastic work.
Yeah,
I can imagine,
you love it.
Carry on doing High Rocks and carry on doing CrossFit. It's
the amount
fantastic.
of times that I would recommend to people don't do it, and it's not because I have anything against it. It's not, in my opinion, not safe for the average gym user.
Because they're probably not learning how to do it properly,
Exactly.
the exercises, technique-wise, and then for you, they're getting injured.
But that's the thing with CrossFit, it's very much a community, but with CrossFit, because Will and I are CrossFit instructors, and we did that in London before they had CrossFit in Hull. But they do more the mechanical stuff and say, right, this is how you're going to train, this is how you do it. But it doesn't distinguish who's a very, very beginner, who's like, right, new into it. And I always say, people who go into CrossFit, you have to have a certain level of fitness before you go into it, because it's massive injury. Whereas High Rocks actually is a bit of a hybrid between your CrossFit and your gym. So you go into the gym and you get to a point where you're like, well, I'm doing the same stuff, but then you're not really want to go into the CrossFit because you don't want that competitive and quick, fast pace. So then the High Rocks is more of a amalgamation. I don't know if you agree with that. It's a bit more of you don't agree with
I
that.
would still ballpark them together, in my opinion. I mean, I've got my own personal opinions on them, and mine is that I would never compete in High Rocks personally. I got asked to go to a competition recently, but for me, every competition is the same. From what I understand, that every competition is the same event, same order of exercises. From what I understand, whereas CrossFit, I might be wrong with this, but CrossFit is different exercises per open. So every single time you do an open, it's different. High Rocks is the same. And from my perspective, I just think, well, it's a bit kind of tedious. Like, I personally wouldn't want to do it because we're just doing the same thing week in, week out. And I know obviously you train differently for it, like with every event, but still that idea of just doing the same competition, I personally couldn't do it. So no, I'm out of that one.
So what's going to be the next big craze? Do you know? What's on the horizon?
Tiddlywinks.
That's not going to help you.
No.
To be fair, for me, I think it's just going to be a realgamation, is that the right word? I don't know, just a repeat of the same. It's going to be another variation of
reciprocal. Is it reciprocal?
Yeah, it's just going to be another version of CrossFit, and
has to begin with an R, whatever you're going for.
It's just going to be another version
but
of
I
that.
think you're right. I think social media is massively influencing sport and the nutrition side. I mean, in some ways it's good, but in other ways,
it frustrates me when people go against or try to go against what I advise them because they see someone on Facebook or Instagram with 1 million followers. They presume, well, he must know more than a personal trainer.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, no, he's just bought those by being likable or doing something that's trending. Or
it's got some personality. It doesn't mean they're an expert.
Exactly.
No.
And you can see the different trends as well, because on the social media platforms, you have those trends. So at the moment, the trend is all this AI stuff and everything's all fake, where you have musicians like, oh, you're singing my song, oh, let me join in. And you can see these trends that are coming on. And with Instagram, exactly what Martyn said, you've got these people like, oh, this is the best stuff, I've been on this. Well, no, you've just been endorsed and you're getting a kickback. And if you put this code in, well, you get a kickback from that code. And it's not actually that they believe in the product or the product's any good. It's just that company has come to them and said, right, sell this for us because you've got, exactly what Martyn said, 2 million, 5 million, 20 million followers.
Yeah.
And that is the dangerous side of things, because anyone who looks at that, research it. And that's where you have to look deeper in to find out actually what is in that product.
So well done on your respective businesses. It sounds like you're both doing well, but you're here together today because you wanted to talk about something you are doing together. So who wants to tell us a bit more about that?
Well, I can start by saying how my idea started. So I've been kind of since COVID dabbling in the world of online coaching. When all gyms shut down, we kind of had to venture onto online coaching. And one of the things that kind of has been trending in my results with clients is that people start to see an improvement in the work performance. So stress management goes down, work productivity goes up. So I started over the past few months over summer working with clients with their businesses to improve their business performance whilst also helping the health and well-being. And I had this kind of goal of trying to create this workplace well-being program. And then I just happened to speak to Alex, and we had a conversation where you were thinking something similar, I believe.
Yeah. So for Hansford and Crocker, we had a lot of clients coming in who were going straight to the GP, getting a sick note, and they were getting 2-3 weeks off. The employer was getting annoyed. The employee wasn't able to do anything in terms of go into work. The productivity went down. So Will and I, we were getting these people, and we got 2, 3, 4 people from the same company, and we said, right, we need to go down this corporate world and look at helping in a bespoke way companies, and sitting down with them saying, right, what do you need out of your employees, and how can we help you in the injury sector and in return to work and pre-employment assessments? And a lot of employers were very interested in that, because it helps with reducing the sick pay, absenteeism, and productivity as well. So our slant on it was the physio side and the injury side, as well as the mental health side, because your mental health improves if you get your injury better. So we were looking at doing that, and then Martyn and I have known each other quite a while now.
What is this from your Nuffield days?
Yeah.
Well, no, I
you were in Cott Park. So
I was at Cott Parks. I was playing rugby at the time, and I just kept getting injuries after injuries as I was getting older.
Oh, so you became
I was
a
client.
patient.
I was a client of Alex's. One of the studio instructors recommended Alex, so I went to see him. Pretty much since then, I've always been going to Alex for my injuries.
Right.
But we've always had a really good relationship, because we've had a very strong understanding of respect, and like you're great at your job, and I hope you think that. That's great at my job.
No, so it's one of those things that because he's helped me, it's one of those, in my experience, if someone helps you, then I think you should be reciprocal. And I've always recommended my clients, if they have a problem, go see Alex, and Alex recommends people to come see me. So it works in two ways. And then, like I say, we just had this conversation, and he said, so what's your plans for the future? So I said, well, I want to be looking at doing this. Oh, well, we're thinking of doing the same thing. Why don't we combine it together? And it's that idea of a bit like occupational health.
Yes.
That, together we provide a product that.
So tell me, what is the product? What is it? What is the service?
So we've called it Health Deck.
Health Deck.
Health Deck. It's providing a service with injury and with well-being, which helps an employee with their productivity and with their health as well. So from Martyn's perspective, he's bringing in the online coaching aspect and the assessment and the well-being. From our side, it's more of the physio, return to work, and the pre-employment assessments. So we've targeted, and with mental health as well. So we brought in counselling and mental health aspect to it. So it's like an all-encompassing, because Occ Health, you've got your tick boxes, which you can do, which is great. But we wanted to go down that more personal approach, where actually it's the mental health, the well-being, and the injury side, which is the most important to an employer for their employees. Because if you've got your happy employee who's injury-free, and talking about prehab as well, and rehabilitation, where you're trying to prevent an injury from occurring. So if you can create knowledge into the employee to help them to not gain those injuries during the workplace, that will then obviously help.
So it's prevention rather than treatment.
It's that prehabilitation, and with the well-being and with the injury.
So how would it work in practice then? So say, I am an employer. Yeah. So you have convinced me to subscribe. Is that how it would work to Health Deck?
So basically on a contractual basis, you would say how many of your employees you want to sign up to the project. So there'll be some people you may not want to, but we would hope from our perspective that it would be the entire company. And those people work with me prior to hopefully obviously ever seeing Alex, essentially, we would, or together I would provide training, nutrition, lifestyle guidance.
For each on an individual basis? Right,
yes.
Okay.
So as a whole, we work together with the company. So if there was any particular area you as an employer wanted to focus on, so you might have a concern of the nutrition within your team, we can tailor it to that. But on an individual basis, every single person gets a bespoke plan. So one thing I've looked at when I was doing my own version is that a lot of these kind of corporate wellbeing programs, it's all generic. Every single person just given access to an app, there's your training, go away and do it. Whereas I'm from a one-to-one perspective, I like to give that individual approach. And then each individual client is given a journey, if you like, throughout a month of nutrition training, lifestyle, and then we reassess and we go through feedback seminars, educational seminars to teach that person how to continue on their own. And then from Alex's perspective, it's more a case of access to you guys
as needed.
And this is where we work very well together, because it's all about, as Martyn said, the seminars. So you then agree a package, pay a monthly fee for your employees to come to us, and they have access to the prehab, the seminars, the workshops.
Yeah.
And then if there's an injury or a niggle or something, they get access through Rock Health, get the referral, comes to us, and then we see them. And the same with Martyn as well. Anyone can have access to Martyn's platform, and it then moves forward.
So is this a separate business? Are you setting it up as a separate business?
Yeah, it's a collaboration. So we've gone into partnership.
Right.
So,
okay. And when? So you said it's early days. So where are you in the process?
Essentially, we're going through the process of trying to get some essential. What's the word? Trial, not trial companies, but
no. But we've got two that we're using as trials at the moment.
Yes.
But we've got 2024 was more of meetings and setting up between Martyn and Set the Pace and Hansford and Crocker to create Health Deck. So we have Health Deck as a comprehensive structure now.
Yeah.
And that's what 2024 is all about. 2025 now is
testing the concept.
Forward.
Yes, that's the word. Rolling out.
Yes.
Yeah, and then pushing forward, getting all the meetings. We've got quite a few meetings set up and just pushing it out there. But I believe that it is massively important to have that personal approach, and this is where Health Deck is that personal approach, because employers, whether you have 500 or 1,000 employees, everyone's an individual. So you have to, instead of going to healthcare providers or using employee assistance programs and saying, someone's injured, or we need a bit of nutrition thing, or we'll just use that company because that's on our list. The employer knows exactly where that employee is going. And I think that's really, really important, because you have that personal approach and then you have that report and feedback.
How do you guys, it sounds great what you're talking about, but a fitness and even rehab it's very competitive. There are a lot of other gym instructors out there, personal trainers and sports injury specialists. I'm not going to call you a physio. And there are also these platforms that employers can use to help their employees both physically and mentally. So how do you differentiate? Is it because of this personalisation then?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So obviously from my side, I've no role within with the physio and the rehab side, but from me, I see it all the time, people getting generic training plans, generic nutrition advice, and it just doesn't work, because if it was that easy, just everyone do the same thing, everyone would look amazing and feel amazing and have no problems. But everyone needs an individual approach. Everyone's got their own personal goals. And for me as a coach, it's about providing a structure for that person, because you yourself would need a specific training plan compared to Bob down the road who's got no kids.
Which I do think is the selling point, because it is all about that personalisation. I guess in my mind I'm thinking about how you would scale it, because if you let's just say Reckitt's said, this is brilliant, let's do it for all our employees, and there's 40,000 or whatever it might be. There's only so many individual fitness plans and members of staff you can actually see.
Yeah, so for me, from my end, in terms of the coaching process, the way I've structured it is that every single person gets a personalised plan, but the feedback, the education happens as a group.
Right,
so it's kind of a combined approach, if you like. So at the end of every month, we will have a seminar, a feedback session, if you like, where we jump on a Zoom call or a Teams call, and I'll bring up the common themes of everyone's feedback for that month. And then from that, because at the bottom line, as what I've learned over the years, is that the problems everyone faces are the same problems, just different contexts. So if someone's struggling with stress, your stress might be family related, someone else's stress might be work related. The bottom line is stress. It's the same solution, different context, but same solution.
Yeah. Okay.
So with the monthly feedbacks, you can kind of give generic advice, but it's still personal to that individual.
Okay.
And I think it's very important. That's why we did 2024 with the blueprint, because the blueprint's the holy grail really of making it scalable.
Yeah.
Because we could have in 2025 4 companies with 1,000 employees, so you got 4,000 people, but the blueprint provides the expertise and the scalability to absorb that and have that to come, because there's only one Martyn, there's only one Alex, and one Will. But the thing is, when you then start training people, you have that blueprint and that handbook. That's where our personal approach comes into it, because there are a lot of companies out there, and I've always said I'll never look behind me. I'll always look in front of me, because if you start looking at your competitors, you're never going to progress and move forward. And people who do look behind and try and copy, well, they're not going to be able to get to that point where they understand something, because they're constantly looking behind them. So that's where, with Martyn as well, exactly the same perspective. Move forward, you do what you need to do, have the USPs, and just crack on that way.
Good. Well, best of luck with it. It sounds very exciting.
Thank you very much.
2025 is obviously going to be an exciting year for you both.
Fingers crossed.
So that's about the future. Let's just very quickly then talk about lessons you've learned over the last a few years, I'll say. Well, no, actually longer, because is it how many years? 17 years.
Yeah.
Less obviously for you, Martyn, but
in the business,
in the industry. So, what would you do? What would you do differently with the benefit of hindsight? Who wants to go first on that one?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, for me, it was our first 10 years were fantastic. We'd set up 3 clinics. We'd had a cancer rehabilitation contract with the first contract for cancer survivors, and we created this 12-week rehab program for cancer survivors, first in the country. So we had all this, but then sort of the last 7 years we've been pushing forward and expanding. So we've been looking at various business plans and looking at different premises and different ways of doing things. And this is where I think 2024, 2025 is now the time where we've honed the skills, honed our expansion plan into what we believe is the future and how to move forward, because we had COVID.
I was going to say, it sounds like COVID's been a pivotal but it's influenced where you're thinking of going in the future.
Certainly
because
has
of the
done
online.
for me, particularly, I mean, with everything shifting online, for me, I had to do that to survive as a business. The number of people I know in the PT industry who have had to close doors because of they didn't transition onto online, and I think that's probably one thing I would go back and do again if I had my time, is that I would have done that earlier without having to be
forced into it.
I would have maybe looked at that beforehand, because at the end of the day, that's where, obviously here for business, that's where the money is. Not many people can come to see me in person, and I can only see one person at a time. Or even if I had a bigger premises, I could maybe see a class, but still I'm limited. Online, there is no limit.
It's limitless.
Exactly, yeah. Every single person can get the same kind of quality treatment, but on an individual basis.
And behaviourally, as a society, we're all spending, I believe, unfortunately, too much time, but online. So it's become more natural, hasn't it? I mean, 10 years ago, we would never have thought of doing a PT class.
Exactly, online, yeah.
We would never have even heard of. So
the accessibility there is just tenfold.
And broadband access has got a lot better. The quality of
and the great thing is there's a lot of science behind things now. I remember when I first started playing rugby, it was like bench press and bicep curl. That's all you did, really. Whereas now the science behind it, in terms of nutrition and everything, it's just gone tenfold. Yeah. So, and this is going back to the access of, like, look at Joe Wicks. He says now, and said forever, he's going to do free stuff online. So anyone, you don't have to have any money. You can just go onto YouTube and you can see all his stuff for free, which, that's a great thing. But
that's what the world you're competing in, though, isn't it? Exactly. So it's how you can add value and monetize that. Yeah.
But the one thing with Joe Wicks is that he does that free, but then he still has his platform which you subscribe to. So he does that free, but you're going to notice that there's a limit to what he gives access to. If you want more, there it is, his paid one. So that's a great business model as well.
I'm just conscious of time, so we are going to start wrapping up. But if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Is this me personally?
You personally? What, change your wife or what she would say?
What she'd say.
Oh, I'd like to know what she'd say, but what do you think?
I think for me it would be less argumentative, probably. I think
you'd like to be more, or you think that's what she'd say?
Less argumentative, but I'm very strong-willed. But the thing is,
I'm not picking that up at all.
But I think, I think probably, less sort of argumentative with points and things like that. But
with Will, your partner in the business?
Just in general, I think, just in life.
Oh, you're in for a good year, Martyn.
Gotta pull out now.
But this is the great thing, though. Like, in terms of, as you get older, you become wiser. So you pick your battles and you pick the things that you're going to be arguing about or you're passionate about. I think that's probably what it is. I'm probably mixing it up. It's passion, which leads to then maybe a possible argument or anything, or disagreement with things. And
or frustration, maybe, if someone's not feeling the same.
You're on
way.
the same page.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. But as we got older, if you said to me at 25 and you spoke to Will, he'd be like, "Oh, Alex is impossible," because he sees it in his mind and he knows that's the way it's going to go and that's how it has to be. But as age has come, I listen to everyone, and Will does as well. And that's why we have such a good relationship. And Martyn will know as well that we'll, when health tech progresses and everything, it's all about learning and talking about it and coming to an agreement together, rather than saying, well, I like my idea and you guys need to come on board with it. Because that never works.
No.
And that's how I was saying right at the beginning, a business and a partnership, it's so key to have that, because if you don't have that, you don't have a business.
Martyn?
Mine would be to worry less. I'm a big worrier. Yeah. I find it hard to not look at the negative of something. I'm a very positive person, like in my actual actions, but at the back of my mind, I am always thinking about worst case scenario. Yeah. So yeah, that'd be mine. Okay.
So on the subject of worry, I was going to ask you actually, what keeps you awake at night? And I don't mean children or
definitely
your
children.
wife. From a business point of view, is there something that keeps you awake at night, or you do particularly have worries about?
For me personally, it's about being able to compete with the bigger people. Like you said earlier yourself, that there's a lot of names, a lot of brands in the fitness industry, and kind of linking back to my answer about social media, they have the platform to reach wider audiences. And I don't like social media. As much as I'm on it, I don't like it. I don't like the idea of you having to be always present in people's lives. I think you should be there when they need you rather than be there all the time. So I don't like to force my opinions on people. I know you have to as a business, but I don't like that idea of marketing, if you like. So I don't really push it too much. So I know I'm not going to be top of mind for a lot of clients. So to compete with the bigger people does worry me, because, like I say, social media gives them the platform. But do you want to, though?
Because there's space for everyone. There's the big brands, if you like, and then there's space for maybe smaller, more niche services, because maybe I talked about Reckitt's earlier. Maybe Reckitt isn't a target client for you because they're too big.
Yeah,
maybe you are more of an SME type.
Talking away from our combination of health tech for a while, me as a set the pace,
right?
There's only one of me, and what I've learned over the years is that people pay me for me. They don't want a PT, they want me as their PT. And my kind of concerns in more long term, 10, 15 years down the line, when I wanted to retire, I can't produce another me. Obviously, I've got children, but they're not going to be another me. So it's being able to provide the same service that I give through other means.
Through the channels, yes.
Through other channels.
Yes, yeah.
Still, because that's what people, in my experience, have wanted.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this partnership with Alex will hopefully work, because I'm able to scale it to a larger population rather than on my own.
Alex?
Yeah, for me, keeping me up night, I think it would be having plans and having them move into fruition. So for me, I have all these plans and in my ideas in my head. And as I said, for the first 10 years, it was great. 7 years, all these plans. But for me, what keeps me up at night is that I want to succeed and make those plans that I know will work to get the opportunity to bring them into fruition. And that's why I think health tech, we're very passionate about it, and hopefully it will come into fruition, and we can then scale it up and hopefully become national, and that's what we're aiming.
Oh, so that is what success looks like then, national with
national,
health tech, right?
Because if you have that blueprint, you can then transfer and have a transferability around, and then you then bring in. It's like a snowball effect. Yeah. So you start getting a few companies on board, and then what happens is they start then bringing on other companies and other companies here, and then you then start finding that you've got hubs in other places, and it's all about. We have the idea of a health hub and having a health hub in certain cities as well. And that's obviously long term. But yeah, I suppose it's an exciting time.
It is. And I look forward to seeing how you get on. Best of luck with it, guys.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming in and telling us all about it and a bit more about your experience and how you've got to where you are today. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Before you disappear, I do have a question. So we do have a tradition on the Pacecast where the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest is going to be. So I'll be asking you before you go today to leave a question for our next guest for next month. So I have the question here that was left by our previous guest. The question is, tell us something about yourselves, well, it says about you, but obviously there's two of you, about you, that would surprise people. So something about you that would surprise people, i.e. that they're not likely to know. Nothing embarrassing. Have you got a phobia? Is there something that I don't know, something funny about yourself? Something you're really bad at? Something you're really good at?
I became a paddy rescue diver at 17. So I suppose that's...
Oh, this is because you were travelling the world. Well, not travelling the world. You were overseas with your parents.
So I had an opportunity when I lived in Hong Kong to do my open water and paddy. And that was at 15. So I did my junior open water, and then I went into advanced, and then became a rescue diver. And yeah, still.
Is it something that you still do, diving?
Yeah. So if I go on holiday, I try and find a local dive place, and
nice.
And yeah, try and dive as much as I can. But now with 2 kids and another one on the way.
I didn't realise. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think my time's going to be on
busy.
the beach.
Yeah. You'll be escaping into the ocean.
Yeah.
Martyn?
I really can't think of anything. Yeah, going back to the fact that my brother,
golf?
yeah, weirdly, yeah, golf. That he's a professional golfer, that he's never had a hole in one, but I have.
So you had a hole in one. Well, there you go. That's good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Well done.
Congratulations.
The most unlucky swearing-filled hole in one that I can probably imagine.
Where was it at?
It was at Brough Golf Club.
Right.
It was in national competition, and I was playing horrendously, and I just hit this tee shot, and it was going nowhere near. It was like going towards this out of bounds garden, and it hit the side of the bunker and then bounced around the top of the green and then rolled all the way around. I was too busy hitting the floor of my club, just about
thinking
to throw
it was a bad shot. Yeah.
And then I heard this cheering from the group ahead, and I looked up, and literally as I looked up, it just dropped in the hole. So it wasn't even a skillful.
And do you get something for a hole in one?
I got a tie.
A tie?
A tie.
Yeah.
And
I need a hole named after Martyn
I
for that
am
one, don't we?
officially in the Holy One Club, and I think I maybe won like 50 quid of shop credit on the day, but I didn't get anything for it, but just a tie.
Oh, well, there you go. A good,
so, yes.
Thank you for the answers and a good question. So thank you again, guys, and best of luck for this year. I hope it's a successful one for you both.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's it for this month. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you a very happy and healthy, obviously, and successful 2025, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, bye-bye.